Did YouTube streaming fail? I'm using past tense because according to a lot of people, it's already buried 6 feet under. There's been a lot of YouTube exclusive streamers over the last month or so that have announced that they're moving back to Twitch or that they're going to be multi-streaming now that their YouTube contracts are up. So the perception is that every YouTube streamer is basically just in purgatory, scratching at their neck, waiting to get back to Twitch. And it kind of has the same reputation Mixer did a long time ago, God rest its soul, where people that were previously on Twitch took a bag from YouTube, had a little paid vacation for a year or two, and then go back to Twitch eventually. And as a former full-time streamer on both platforms, I feel like I'm John Constantine, walking the line between worlds here. And I feel like I just have oodles of insight on this subject. Now, since I've entered my senile years, I have elected to go part-time, so you can hang that jersey in the rafters, or if you're a tier 3 sub on Twitch, you can go ahead and downgrade that puppy or just stop it altogether, because at this point it's kind of like the GameStop trade-in of value. You're not getting a whole lot of bang for your buck with how little I've been streaming recently. I did stream all weekend for the Apex Major in Germany. We were watch partying our squad, absolutely fucking clapping cheeks out there. Just posted a video on that as well if you'd rather just watch like the condensed version. So it's a topic I really want to explore. And it turns out Ludwig already beat me to it, that rascal. So I kind of want to just go through his video and drop some more tiddlywinks of information about all of it.
Have you been noticing this trend where people who are signed to YouTube live streaming contracts, the day their contract ends, switch right back to Twitch or start multi-streaming?
Yeah, that's a phenomenon that's more common than the cold. You would be hard-pressed to find any Twitch streamers that switch to YouTube streaming and haven't already switched back over the last year or so to Twitch, or at the very least started multi-streaming on Twitch and YouTube. There are less of them than there is hair on my chest, and look at what we're working with here. Everyone seemingly that switched to YouTube streaming, either through YouTube contracts or through Twitch's fumbling over the last couple of years with like some policy changes as well as like some platform direction that people were upset with, have over the last year or so switched back. Because Twitch started to find their footing again with some of the changes and changing things around, like reverting a couple of things, as well as YouTube no longer doing streaming contracts. So it seems like everyone's flooding back to Twitch the second they can.
YouTube and YouTube Live not changing isn't because they move slow. It's because YouTube Live isn't a priority for YouTube. But your friends that went to YouTube are all coming back, Sushi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dan Clancy, cool as a cucumber here. I'm actually shocked he didn't have a cigar in his mouth delivering this little speech. Like, he's basically just dancing on the grave of YouTube's reputation in the public eye. There was a time when everyone, myself included, thought YouTube was going to be a real threat to Twitch's market share. Because Twitch has had the streaming ecosystem in a titty twister for years. They've had the nipple clamps on those honkers. And YouTube started to get a lot of momentum with streamers that were native to Twitch switching to YouTube even without a contract. But it seems most streamers grew tired of YouTube doing absolutely nothing besides letting the streaming element of their site wither, fester, and die. So pretty much all of them have switched back to Twitch at this point, except for the ones that are still under contract or banned from Twitch. But there was a moment where it really did seem like YouTube was encroaching on Twitch's stranglehold on the industry. And at the height of this, Dan Clancy was interviewed asking, are they panicking? Are they worried about Twitch users switching to rival platforms? Is Twitch going to do anything to keep users and streamers on their site? It was also public knowledge at this time that Twitch had completely stopped doing contracts for even their biggest streamers. They just put the kibosh on contracts entirely. And Dan Clancy just said nope. In fact, he encouraged everyone to try alternatives. Like if they want to stream on YouTube and Kick, go for it. Go hog wild. He said that he believed that all of them would be back to Twitch because he believed in the platform being the best that streaming had to offer. And it seems like his bet has paid off so far. Like Luigi, he won without having to do anything. It seems most streamers that went to other platforms are all starting to flock back to Twitch.
You know, when Myth ended his YouTube contract, I believe he took a break. He stopped streaming on YouTube. Lily, the moment her contract ended, switched back over to Twitch. Dr. Lupo, when his contract ended, started multi-streaming. I mean, shit, Tim the Tapman today said he was going to start multi-streaming on Twitch and YouTube. And look, his viewership is better on Twitch after 3 years, I think, on YouTube. than it is right now on YouTube.
And that's a pretty crazy thing. So the perception and the fear for a lot of streamers was if they left Twitch, if they ever decided to come back, their viewership wouldn't be what it once was, or their sub count would be significantly lower. But time and time again, it seems like that's just not the case. Not just Tim the Tatman, but there's been other streamers that have gone to other platforms that have come back to Twitch and have been in pretty much the exact same spot that they left off in, no matter how many years had passed. Everybody knows when you switch platforms, your audience doesn't necessarily follow you. You're definitely not getting the whole kit and caboodle to come over to the new platform that you've come to. You're lucky to get like even a fraction of it. Like, yeah, you'll hit like huge peaks for the first couple of streams with people like, you know, trickling in just to check it out. But that audience you built up on the previous platform, they're most likely just going to go back to that because that's the platform they're most comfortable on. So if you're not on it, they'll probably just find another streamer and maybe they'll occasionally tune into you on the other platform. But for the most part, they don't get converted to the new platform that you've switched to. So with the example here, Tim the Tatman, he built up a YouTube streaming audience, and now that he went back to Twitch, that Twitch audience he used to have, it seems like they're still using Twitch and look to be receptive to Tim the Tatman being back on their preferred platform, so his viewership has kind of stayed pretty much the same there.
And nothing fucking changed. He's literally doing better on Twitch. And you might be wondering, okay, why are streamers switching back to Twitch? Well, one might be because they do better. They get more viewers. Two, it's because they also make more money.
I saw someone say sub count, by the way, earlier. I didn't answer it. I apologize. I'm not making up messages here. We are at 6.3.
Crowd, our game's over.
So you have an official number?
I'm joining up.
We're probably closer to 6.5, if I had to guess.
And Tim basically says he got 6,500 subs in one single stream on Twitch, and on YouTube he had 14,000 subs. So he basically got almost half his subscriber count in one day. So he's going to start making more money from Twitch subs than he ever did from YouTube members.
That is another huge thing. That one is a big ol' fucking set to wumbo explanation for why a lot of people will switch back to Twitch. The earning potential on YouTube streams is substantially lower than it is on Twitch. Twitch is a platform with culture. Chat experience on Twitch has always and will always be better than YouTube. Period. Hands down. There's nothing YouTube can do to really beat that, and it doesn't seem like YouTube's even trying. They're just waving the white flag on that. They're just eating the huge fucking L on just having a bad chat experience compared to Twitch. But also, Twitch just has a culture of subbing. Like, Twitch has Prime subs, which is something you can do for free for your favorite streamer, where you sub to them with Twitch Prime, and it's free for you, and the streamer gets paid. Like, that is a deal YouTube just can't match. And it's extremely beneficial to the streamers on Twitch. So Tim the Tatman can make in one day what it took 3 years for him to make on YouTube, at least when it comes to like membership numbers versus sub numbers. So YouTube has a sub equivalent with members, but nobody fucking uses it. Most people don't even know it exists. Also, it's not even functional on mobile. You have to go outside of the YouTube app, like on like a different browser on your phone in order to even find the join button for most channels. Like, it's not something that's integrated into YouTube streaming. So most streamers on YouTube will never come close to the amount of subs a Twitch streamer will have. And they won't even come close to the amount of money a Twitch streamer earns if they are streaming on YouTube. So that's another really enticing reason why a lot of people that were streaming on YouTube are going back to Twitch. Also, another obvious one is discoverability. The main critique of YouTube streaming since its inception has been how hard it is to navigate and how difficult it is to even find streams in the fucking first place. And they have done little to improve that. Any channels that have found success streaming on YouTube are channels that already had an audience before they started streaming or had an audience from elsewhere that came in for those YouTube streams. Anyone that's just starting with streaming on YouTube, it's not going to bring in any viewers because discoverability is non-existent. YouTube is actually really good when it comes to like event streams though. So this is something Ludwig also talks about. If a big moment happens in an event, like grand finals is going on in some kind of big tournament, and a lot of people start flooding in, well, YouTube recognizes that and then actually starts recommending that stream outside of the normal little bubble, like the quarantine unit that it keeps streams in, so then you actually will get some eyes on it. But if you're like just daily streaming normal shit or just starting out streaming, you're not going to have that stream go to anyone outside of whatever audience you've already built up going into it. you have better odds of writing your YouTube handle on a paper airplane and throwing it out of your window and hoping a neighbor sees it and checks it out than you do just streaming on YouTube and relying on them to push it. It doesn't happen. Whereas on Twitch, even though there are so many streamers to compete with in every category, your odds of being seen are higher. Your potential to have some viewers trickle in is just higher on Twitch.
If you look at the most watched major streaming platforms by hours watched of live broadcasts, Q2 of this year, YouTube gaps Twitch. It's not close. 3 times bigger, 15 billion. However, that doesn't exactly tell the full story. Because if you look at this, you also have to include, some people like YouTube's biggest live streamer by hours watched, which is not iShowSpeed. It is Lo-Fi Girl.
Yeah, so just looking at the cold, hard Carfax here, looking at these numbers, taking a peek under the hood, it looks like on the surface YouTube is slapping Twitch around when it comes to these numbers. But it's really not. Because these numbers are bloated just by the sheer volume of streams that are going on that are just literally always on. So like Lo-Fi Girl, probably the biggest stream in the world when it comes to watch hours. Like the watch time on that is absurd because it's 24/7 nonstop with tens of thousands of viewers that are idly just listening to it in the background or have it on while they sleep. So it's not like the healthiest number that they have here, it's just the biggest one. So it doesn't really tell the full story. And Lud also mentions some other very, very popular streams on YouTube that really inflate the fuck out of those numbers.
Things like Lo-Fi Girl or videos playing on loop or what there's a bunch of on YouTube Live, which is scams. In fact, one of the biggest live streams right now on YouTube is Tesla, except it's not Tesla. It is a scam account with 20,000 subscribers with 86,000 bots watching to give it some credibility. So people click on it who aren't part of the bot number, and then they scan this code, and then they lose all of their crypto. Do not scan this code. I'm showing this as an example of YouTube's corrupt botting problem.
If anybody actually scanned that QR code from Ludwig's video, I believe that it is now Ludwig's responsibility to pay you back for all of your lost crypto. He is liable now because Ludwig scammed you. I had the decency to censor the scam QR code. I'm just being a little goofster. If anyone actually scans that QR code and loses all their crypto, they 100% deserve it for being an unfathomably stupid buffoon. I will never be able to wrap my head around who actually falls for those. I truly don't understand it. Like, I know the default answer is like old people. I don't believe that because they probably don't have crypto in the first place. But anyway, what Ludwig is highlighting here is that these scams have tons and tons of viewership, last for quite a long time, thus bump those numbers up on the YouTube streaming hours. And they're not real. Like, you can probably find 10 of these streams going on right now. Like, that also tells me the scam must be pretty successful. There must be some people falling for it. I don't know how, you absolute imbeciles. But there's tons of them happening all the time, inflating those numbers, and YouTube doesn't do anything about it, it doesn't seem.
Like actual streamers, actual people who are streaming video games. Well, then the contest becomes a lot more fair. And there's still a lot of huge streamers. I mean, look, Steak right now is live with 41,000 viewers. That is massive. That is a huge stream.
When you look at the actual streams going on with real sentient human beings behind them, the number gets a lot lower than you would expect given the huge number that you can see in the data. Especially when you look at gaming in particular, the number there is lower than Twitch. Twitch is beating them like my meat in that department.
So if I were to rephrase the question, is YouTube live streaming a failure? In America? In English-speaking countries? Kind of. Yeah, maybe a little bit. They're not doing as well as people thought they would. Across the world? Fuck no. They're doing amazing. They are crushing. And you know this is true if you watch VTubers. VTubers crush on YouTube, man. All of Asia seems to prefer YouTube for a live streaming platform, and it makes sense.
And this is something I've been saying for a while as well. Internationally, YouTube streaming is huge, but in America, it's definitely second fiddle to Twitch. The biggest breakout star on YouTube streaming is obviously iShowSpeed. But outside of Speed, all the other big English-speaking streamers are on Twitch. But internationally, YouTube's doing very well. Ludwig also gave an example about how Twitch abandoned South Korea recently, so there's just a lot of places that are preferring YouTube for streaming outside of America. And another thing, YouTube's player is just better than Twitch's. You can rewind the stream if you want to, the bitrate is higher, the streams look better. So if you're someone that just likes to kick back and watch a stream and not really interact at all, YouTube's player is going to be very enticing and probably going to be the preferred platform for you. But a lot of people who watch streaming because they like the interactive element of it. And that's where Twitch destroys YouTube. It has an entire culture to its chat. So a lot of people, well, I'm not even going to say a lot of people, everybody prefers the Twitch chat experience. Like, there's very few people that like the YouTube chat experience because there really isn't one. Like, even going to the biggest streams, you're not going to see a whole lot going on in the chat aside from like some spam here and there. But on Twitch, you'll see like entire discussions happening in chat or like a bunch of like inside jokes and all kinds of shit that just makes it feel like a real community as opposed to on YouTube's chat experience. Overall, I have a similar takeaway as Ludwig when it comes to whether or not YouTube streaming is a failure. Overall, it's not because it's doing so well internationally, but when it comes to English-speaking streaming content, it definitely is well behind Twitch. Yes, it is gaining a little bit, but more and more streamers are just switching back to Twitch. A lot of the influx came from seeing big streamers come to YouTube and people following that path, and now that even more are going back to Twitch, I think that's going to continue to happen. But yeah, it doesn't mean YouTube streaming as a whole is dead or a complete failure. It just really lost all of its footing in America. I do, however, disagree with Ludwig on a pretty big thing, which is multi-streaming. I started multi-streaming almost a year ago now, and I actually think it was an incredibly good decision, and one that I still believe is a very smart decision for many streamers regardless of their size. Ludwig believes that multi-streaming isn't great because it makes your viewers spread out. So it basically splinters them between two platforms, which makes it very difficult to reach the consistently high highs of some of like the top streamers on Twitch. By being married to one platform in particular, you can cultivate that audience and grow it there, so that way you're at the top of those categories consistently, like on Twitch or something, so you'll keep getting new viewers and reach insane peak viewership, because as more people find you, more people talk about you, and it just keeps feeding that fire, as opposed to having a lower number on that platform because some of the viewers are watching you on a different platform, so then not as many people are seeing it and talking about it. And, like, I get the point, but I do think that being on two different platforms is reaching two different audiences. And I think that's pretty clear looking at, like, Tim the Tatman here, right? Like, his YouTube number is lower than his Twitch number, even though he started as a Twitch streamer and spent 3 years as a YouTube streamer. It's pretty clear that those have to be different viewers that are being reached. And I think there's a lot of value in that. For one, I think it's better for viewers because you give them the option to watch you on their favorite platform. So the viewers that prefer YouTube can watch you there if they want like the better player, or they can watch you on Twitch if they want the better interactive experience with chat. And I think it's good for the streamer too because you're reaching two separate audiences at the same time. The YouTube audience and the Twitch audience, yes, there's definitely going to be overlap, but it's not like it's the same audience on both platforms that's been fractured. It's two separate ones, and I think there's definitely benefits there because if he wasn't multi-streaming, for example, he was only on Twitch, the 11,000 people on YouTube that were watching Tim might not be watching him on Twitch, so he'd stay at 17,000 over there and completely miss out on 11,000 eyeballs from YouTube. Plus, there is the added benefit that YouTube VODs are significantly better than Twitch VODs. So, when he finishes that multi-stream, his YouTube stream immediately saves as a video to his channel in the live tab that viewers can go back and watch, and also that gets put into the algorithm pretty often. There are streams that'll pop up in recommended, even if you're not someone already watching streams on YouTube, if there's some type of overlap in the algorithm between what video you watched and what stream gets popped up. So it also helps you in that regard, reaching a new audience that maybe found you through a VOD and then chooses to watch you on YouTube. So I just really think there's a lot of things that make multi-streaming a good idea, regardless of how big a streamer is. I think it's a very, very good idea for someone that's just starting out streaming, because you want to lat spread as much as possible to get your lats exposed to whoever is on whatever platform. Just spreading your wings as far and wide as they can go on as many platforms as you can, I think is great for anyone that's just starting with streaming. Which I know Ludwig does agree with. He mentions that, and he also mentions that multi-streaming is optimal for events. He thinks that's the one that makes the most sense, and he's right. Multi-streaming events is a great idea because it puts the event in front of so many other eyeballs. But I do really think it's a very viable strategy for just daily, consistent streamers as well. It just puts your content to more people, and I don't think it necessarily fractures your viewership all that much, because I really am starting to believe there isn't a ton of overlap between Twitch viewers and YouTube viewers. I think they stay in their own pockets with their preferred platforms, so I don't even think you take a huge viewership hit when you start multi-streaming. When I started multi-streaming, I was averaging like 11 or 12,000 viewers on Twitch, and then I started multi-streaming, and then my average on Twitch went down to like 8 or 9,000, so it was a little bit, but then I gained about 15,000 on YouTube. So, you know, it really doesn't seem like it's that big of a trade-off when it comes to multi-streaming. I really think it's more positives than negatives. But anyway, I just wanted to yap about this as a part-time streamer, just kind of wanted to weigh in here. That's about it. See ya. Today was a big day for me on YouTube. I was recommended a video called How to Eat Ass. I don't know why YouTube algorithm recommended this to me. It must have just thought my ass eating game was lacking. I didn't type anything in that would lead to that. I was actually looking up sausage recipes when I first saw it in the recommended tab. So I thought, you know, perhaps this is just a divine sign that I need to step up my rusty trombone playing. And I've decided, let's take a gander. No harm comes from there. I'm no stranger to the art, but there's no reason not to learn a few more techniques, I suppose.
How do I eat ass?
This tutorial is coming at you from Dr. Lindsay over at Sexplanations. I immediately recognized her from an older video where she taught me how to make toy vaginas. Basically just do-it-yourself arts and crafts projects to make fuckable pussies at home.
Step 1, ask your partner if you can. Any interest in me licking your asshole the next time I go down on you? How would you feel if I made out with your butt while you masturbate? Have you ever had a rim job?
The reason why I trust Dr. Lindsay so much, especially when it comes to ass eating, is you could see the passion, feel the passion when she's giving these steps and this advice. This isn't some kind of boring lecture at a university or you're reading out of a textbook, step 1, have you ever had a rim job? You know, there's no soul, there's no flavor in there, but when you get it from Dr. Lindsay, you can really feel the excitement with the question, and I really think that goes a long way.
Step 2, once you have consent, it's time to get ready. Avoid giving anything bad to their asshole and getting anything bad from their asshole.
I initially thought step 2 of getting ready would consist of making yourself presentable for eating ass, you know, putting on your best suit, your most prized fedora, putting some pop rocks in your mouth so that way when you're licking the butthole it starts to tingle a little bit, which just adds to the sensation and the thrill ride. But actually what she goes over is the diseases that can come from eating ass and, you know, making sure you're aware to avoid those things. Equally helpful advice, but also make sure you're wearing a suit when eating ass.
Step 3, set a time. I'm sure you don't want to go down on someone and find a dingleberry of poop and pubes stuck in your teeth. So if you're the one with the asshole, watch your bowel movements.
I like how she says if you're the one with the asshole, as if the person who's licking the asshole no longer has their anus anymore, so now they're just like lost loved, looking to lick as many buttholes as they can, just trying to remember their own asshole that they lost somehow. I know that's not how she means it, but that's how I like to imagine it. Obviously what she's talking about is just being aware, making sure that the spider web of asshole hair doesn't accidentally catch a little bit of colon chocolate in there before analingus. Makes sense.
Shower and wash your whole butt with soap, especially the anus and all those little crevices that make it look like a star. Stay outside though, don't go inside. Then make sure to rinse off all the soap. Trim, shave, or wax your pubes if you choose and wash again. If you're the one with the mouth, how about nothing spicy to eat that's going to burn the anus if you lick it directly? And for hygiene's sake, clean your mouth.
All solid advice, nothing that caught me by surprise, nothing I didn't already know. Obviously, if you're going to be sucking on the old septic tank, make sure it's at least as clean as it can possibly be. Last thing you'd want to do in that situation is start licking a loaded gun down there and start tasting some foul shit in your mouth. When ass is eaten properly and all precautions are taken beforehand, it should be flavorless and feel like you're licking an old man's elbow.
Step 4, acquire some dams for a layer of protection. They reduce the risk of all the bugs I mentioned earlier and cover up the smell and taste of asshole. And non-microwavable cling wrap.
Yeah, this step's going to be optional for a decent chunk of people, I imagine. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people in the heat of the moment being like, hold on a second, I'm going to go grab the cling wrap.
Step 5, with all preparation in place, play. Play with all sorts of body parts, kiss, massage, whatever it takes to get all riled up before. Step 6, when you lightly blow on the asshole. The blowing will not only light up this sensitive spot, it will waft the smell toward you so you can evaluate whether or not you want to proceed.
Yeah, that was new information for me, so this is basically what I needed from the video, some new insight. I'd never even thought of this scientific test to evaluate whether or not the ass has been properly, prepared, like a fine Thanksgiving turkey with enough time in the oven, is it a good turkey? The simple asshole blowing test seems, speaking just from common sense, I imagine to be really effective. If you blow on a dirty butthole, it's going to smell like shit. It's going to smell like a dirty butthole. It'll smell like you're just blowing a fart in your face, and you don't want to be sucking in a fart. So then you just say, hey, look, I see that you didn't give it enough time to marinate. You didn't take the precautions seriously. We're going to have to reschedule this analingus appointment.
If everything is a green light, move on to step 7, add lube and put a dam in place. Add enough lube to keep things soft, but not so much that the anus thinks it's leaking.
This is making this whole operation sound like a Tom Clancy game right now, like a stealth mission to fool the anus. You don't want to use too much lube, using too much lube, and you get like a fucking mission failed. You have like the little Metal Gear Solid thing go off, and then all of a sudden, like, mission failed, ass thinks it's shitting.
Don't literally eat ass. Unless your partner is into a poking feeling out of nowhere. Spreading the cheeks and going straight in for asshole can feel quite jarring. I personally associate it with a pelvic exam or a wedgie.
That makes sense. You don't want to just get right up in there, just go full throttle and scare the person. It makes sense to approach with care.
Once you're at the site, think licking, gentle sucking, kissing, and tickling. Even making contact and not moving at all can be incredibly arousing. The anus is densely packed with nerve endings. It's part of a concentrated area of erogenous tissue, and it's slightly taboo. So there's a thrilling adventure in doing something pleasurable that society tells us not to.
That statement right there kind of dates the video. The times they have changed, haven't they, Dr. Lindsay? Society's telling us all the time, you got to eat ass. It's like one of the most popular sayings around at the moment. But this video came out 3 years ago, I believe, so it's a little behind the curve right now. I mean, you can't blame it. It's a product of its time. But they have shifted, and now it's all about ass eating. Also, people that suck on asshole, those are gamblers right there. They're taking a big risk with low reward. Like, best case scenario, you sucked on a butthole, but worst case scenario, you suck in like a fart or a bunch of shit or something. Like, you're really rolling the dice. Rarely will you have a doctor recommend gentle sucking on a butthole. Like that right there. I mean, you're flying real close to the sun, and you better hope your wings don't burn up when you're in that territory. Because I tell you what, that would be an utter disaster.
Step 9, check in. Come up for air and ask your partner questions. More, wetter, deeper. You could ask them open-ended questions like, how is it? But getting a yes or no answer means you're not caught up in conversation when they likely want your mouth getting back to business.
Yeah, just getting smothered by ass and just fighting your way through the cheeks to come up for air and say, hey, I don't think you took cleaning seriously. My mouth's on fire.
Step 10, enjoy yourself. Step 11, wash your mouth and face afterward. Step 12, then stay curious. Have the longer conversation about what it was like.
Those are the 12 steps to eating ass, and I gotta say, I mean, it all makes sense. 100%, I agree with Dr. Lindsay's take on the whole thing. I just don't really understand why it was recommended to me when I was looking up food recipes, but I'll fucking take it. I really enjoyed it, and I thought that was a very insightful look. And again, I learned all about the asshole blowing technique, which I would have never even thought to do. So that's about it. So yeah. Yeah, today's one of those days. Just like chips and salsa at a Super Bowl party, I'm about to double dip in here into some drama. Last week I made a video talking about hypocrisy. In a nutshell, the situation was two YouTubers, Scott Schaefer and MewKitty, made content talking about Twitch streamers being hypocrites due to the promotion of Fansly during the Streamer Awards, and I was named in both of these videos, because prior to this I had mentioned that it was very weird when Aiden Ross pulled up Pornhub on stream in front of his audience, which consists of a lot of kids, and meanwhile when Fansly was advertised during the Streamer Awards, I just laughed at it. So that's where the hypocrisy allegations come from. That's the genesis of it. And I thought it was an interesting talking point because of the subject matter, but I also wanted to defend myself from hypocrisy allegations that I felt were weightless, and that's what that video I made was all about. Now, Scott Schaefer, as I mentioned, tackled it from more of like a analytical standpoint, breaking down the problem itself, and I still do believe that his intentions are coming from a place of actually caring about the situation. However, the same can't be said about the other content creator, MewKitty. In the video I made covering this, I was very charitable with her intentions behind the content. I thought maybe I was wrong and got the incorrect impression on what her content was focused on. I thought it was satirical and ironic and trying to be silly on purpose with subject matter. And I apologized for saying things that may have come across mean-spirited or made it sound like I was shitting on her when that really wasn't my intention. Especially considering we were both playing on the same team, I feel like we're both saying these things are bad. And for some reason, she's at my throat about it because of one difference in that I think showing Pornhub to the audience was worse. Not that that excuses the Fansly promotion, which again, I have never once defended or said was a good thing, but this slight difference in perspective on it has led to all of this hostility. And I tried to explain that in the last video because I thought maybe there was just a misunderstanding there, but she took the last video as more of a declaration of war. And another thing I want to come forward with right away, and I didn't think this needed explaining either, one of the core points that she as well as others are making is that this is actually a very insidious plot that I'm hiding on purpose because Ludwig is my friend and QT Cinderella is his girlfriend. QT Cinderella ran the Streamer Awards, she was responsible for the Fansly promotion. So people were saying that I'm, excusing everything she did because she's Ludwig's girlfriend. And I didn't think this needed explaining. This is going to be a common thing. I didn't think a lot of this needed explaining, but I'll do it anyway. I've now said in like 5 videos over the last 5 months, I don't see eye to eye with anyone all the time, even my best friends. So, even though I do respect QT, and of course I respect Ludwig, I consider them friends, I didn't see eye to eye with QT on this. Thus, I wasn't going to pretend like I did and defend it. I don't do that for anyone, not even my best friends. This wasn't some kind of secret association that was kept under wraps. I'm very public about Ludwig and I being business partners with fucking Moist Esports, for example, and we do a lot together. But that doesn't mean that I'm just going to look the other way on things that I feel differently about. I don't do that for him either. It's not just QT. I have actually talked about things I disagree with Ludwig on publicly as well. This isn't like some kind of big gotcha where it's like, it turns out Charlie does know QT. This is why he didn't say anything. That's just not the truth. And I did say it wasn't good. And now it's become clear after her most recent upload as well as everything she's been posting on Twitter about me that that little yucky spidey sense that was tingling in the back of my head telling me that she's probably just trolling to get a rise out of streamers to farm it for personal gain was unfortunately correct. And I'll go ahead and take the bait one more time here. I'll play along and eat this entree of medium well internet beef that she's serving up. She's been egging me on Twitter today to debunk all 20 lies she's caught me on in her most recent video. So I'll accept the challenge. I'll take the cinnamon challenge here and go through MewKitty's most recent upload, Moist Hypocritical Can't Stop Lying.
If you're coming here to see me troll around, I can't anymore, because Hypocritical lied so much about me and the situation
Put her money where her mouth is.
that I was forced to re-edit my whole video and now debunk every single lie that was made.
Obviously, I immediately owe a huge apology to MewKitty and her whole community because my video was such a stinker that it's impeded her ability to make her regularly scheduled trolling. But I do want to come out right away and say that her calling me hypocritical, the play on words, hippa and then critical spelled like my name, is actually such a banger because that is a meme that started on my stream like 6 years ago when I was still streaming on YouTube. I was playing Fortnite and I had bought the battle pass for the John Wick skin. And chat fucking erupted when they saw me playing with it because I had for a long time talked about what a big waste of money the battle pass is. You're a fucking troglodyte if you buy the battle pass. And then fucking John Wick skin comes out, it busts down my resolve and I spent money on it. So chat called me hypocritical just like this. And it became a bit of a meme. So to see her unironically use it here is almost nostalgic to a certain extent, but she's clearly using it to be combative as opposed to like jovial and kidding around.
Everybody, including me, is tired of this subject, on him defending promotion of porn to kids. But
We're not even 30 seconds into this video and she's already told her first lie, which is ironic. It almost makes her seem like the hypocrite here. She says that I have defended the promotion of porn to kids. Do you have any evidence to back that up? Do you have a clip of me saying that what QT Cinderella did with promoting Fansly during the Streamer Awards is good? Defending it in any way? Because as far as I can recall, I have only ever said that it's not a good decision. And that as well as Pornhub that Aiden Ross brought up on stream are both bad. I've never once said that what she did was good or defended it, or defended her for the decision to do it. But she likes to tell her audience that I have, without ever showing any clips of me doing it. because it hasn't happened. That is a blatant, bold-faced lie.
First lie manipulates the narrative that he already said both are bad. But that clip happened after my video, when his own fans has pressed him for 1 week for saying nothing.
And on stream, I talked about this last night. And I'll go ahead and get this out of the way right away. During that stream, and in the exact same video MuteKitty has posted on one of her channels, I outright say both are bad.
He never say outright both are bad. All the streams is on my second channel. He defended himself and argued with his viewers for 10 minutes. And after a long battle, he said it's not a great decision, but never said both are bad.
This is a pretty interesting angle to try and play here, trying to catch me on not saying verbatim both are bad until the video went live. Even though I had explicitly said that it wasn't a good decision, which you outright acknowledge in this clip here in your video, and the point I was making in the last video is in that same piece of content you posted on your second channel proudly, I do say it is not a good decision. I don't understand why she's trying to make this argument here, acting like her whole audience has their brain off and can't understand what it means when I say something is not a good decision. That means it's not good, thus is bad. And since I'm talking about the Cutie Cinderella Fansly promotion moment, that is me saying it is bad. Same way I was saying the Aiden Ross Pornhub moment was bad. And I'd actually like to cannonball into the deep end of this pool a little bit and swim around a little more and explore it, because I didn't think this would be necessary. I thought we were all able to deduce human emotion, but it seems like a lot of her arguments are going to pretend like everyone is an actual bot and can't, like, think. So I'm just going to over-explain everything. She makes it seem like I never outright said anything or condemned the Fansly promotion during the Streamer Awards or called it weird or anything at all. I was just completely tight-lipped, radio silent, keeping a secret like I had Fairly Odd Parents and I didn't want to tell anyone. When that's just not the case. During the Fansly promotional moment, I laughed at it. Now, let me ask you, what would I be laughing at, if not the absurdity of a Fansly promotion being on Twitch? Scott Schaefer seemed to understand what the joke I was laughing at was, which was the wild nature of a Fansly ad being played.
And when the ad for Fansly actually came up during the Streamer Awards, you can see he actually lets out a little laugh, and it seems like he's at least somewhat uncomfortable that this type of content was being promoted during the Streamer Awards.
For exclusive behind-the-scenes content and a free trial of some of our hottest creators. On top of that, sign in using your Twitch account and see which is your...
Did I just get a little tickle from under the desk or something? There is nothing to laugh about there, except for the absurdity of the situation. I didn't think that needed explanation, so I didn't even bother in the last one, but it's something she seems to harp on that I never made any indication that I found it uncomfortable or weird. And to go a step further, in the following stream or the stream after, in one of the days following the Streamer Awards, someone in chat had asked me if I thought it was weird that Fansly was advertised during it, and I point blank said yes. And this is actually faster than I called out Aiden Ross in the Pornhub moment. The clip that she plays, as well as the other people have played as well, is from a video I made called Aiden Ross Just Got Banned. Maybe you've heard of him over the last week or so because he also just freely streamed porn on Kick. The astute listeners will have heard something very crucial there. I had said, over the last week, you may have heard of this. It had been about a week since the Aiden Ross Pornhub Armageddon moment, and I had only mentioned it for around 50 seconds of this 11-minute video, which was focused on something else entirely. I just mentioned it because I was talking about a lot of the goofy things he had done recently. So I was just talking about it briefly, and it had taken me a week to even mention it. So I was actually faster to call the QT Fansly promotion weird than I was to call the Aiden Ross Pornhub situation weird. I didn't just ignore it. That is just a blatant lie. However, I don't want to be guilty of the same sin MuteKitty's already committed of making a claim without any evidence to back it up, where she said at the beginning of this video that I defended the promotion of porn to minors, which is a sickening thing to even say, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because I cannot provide the clip of where I replied to chat about the Fansly promotion being weird because I don't fucking feel like combing through 14 hours worth of streams the day and the day after the Streamer Awards went live. I really don't feel like going through it, so since I'm not providing the video evidence for it, I'm not going to use this as a point in my defense. So going forward, we're going to work under the assumption that I never said anything publicly about it on stream, and the only indication I made to condemning it or that I thought it was bad was when I laughed at it during the moment.
which is weeks after the call out.
Pretty clear from reading her comments, not like her personal comments, but like the audience comments, that the majority of the people didn't even watch the full statement. There must be a ghost in the machine of this lie counter on screen because it's going wacko mode. I don't know what's being counted as lies here because her points haven't changed, yet the counter is going up. I'm guessing it's because she's trying to say that the timeline condemns me. It had been about a week before I responded to her video, so my speed to the response was suboptimal. I didn't, get there like the fucking Power Rangers in time to talk about it. The explanation there should be pretty obvious to any sentient human being out there. I didn't see it until a couple days before I talked about it on stream. I had meant to talk about it the next day, but I forgot. I don't remember why, and I apologize. Maybe I should have talked about it the very second that I'd finished watching it, but I forgot. And then the following day or whatever, when the Mew Kitties community kept spamming it, I did get a little upset because I just don't like spam and I was already talking about other things. So yes, I did get a little upset about the spam. And I do apologize for that. That's just something that always grinds my fucking ass. I don't like spam, but I'm being completely genuine. I actually don't understand what the point she's making here is. That I was slow to respond to it, thus I'm guilty, I guess. I don't really think that's a very strong point.
The next lie is also very important, and it's done many times, where he words, I didn't do the exact same statement, when he didn't do any statement at all.
Thus, I disagree that it's hypocritical that I made statements about Aiden Ross and the porn thing being really weird, and I didn't make the exact same statements for QT Cinderella's Fansly sponsor. What? I don't actually really get what you're saying with this one. Is it an issue with the way I laid out the situation? In the clip you played, I'm just laying out the situation where people were upset that I had made a statement about Aiden Ross and streaming Pornhub to be weird, and then didn't turn around and make the exact same statement for QT Cinderella and the Fansly promotion. Was the issue me saying exact same? The word exact? Was that the problem? The pressure point? Because if so, I mean, I guess we can dive into that a bit. Maybe we need to start with a definition of hypocrisy, I suppose. So again, this whole video I made was just defending me from the hypocrisy allegations, not minimizing the actual subject matter, which I find to be a pretty important talking point. It was just defending myself from claims of hypocrisy. So I tackled it by pointing out that the Aiden Ross Pornhub situation and the QT Fansly situation were different, albeit both bad, and do have similar elements to them. So in this section where I said I didn't say the exact same thing, I'm highlighting that when people were criticizing me, they're talking about me not making like a whole video talking about the QT Fansly promotion, I believe. So that's what that was my definition of exact same. And I'll clear up confusion. I didn't make a whole video about the Aiden Ross Pornhub thing either. That was 50 seconds of an 11-minute video that was unrelated to that. And I did mention that the QT thing was weird. So in order for the situation to have been hypocritical, I would have needed to shit all over Aiden Ross and call it the worst thing in the world, get the pitchfork out because he showed the Pornhub moment, and meanwhile, pat QT Cinderella on the back and defend it, applaud it, say that the Fansly promotion is totally fine. That would have been hypocritical, and I was arguing that since that wasn't the case, it wasn't. Like, the word exact wasn't really a core part of anything I was discussing. Now, I would like to, however, throw her a life raft on a point here, because I do think there is valid criticism of me here. I've said this for a long time. No one is above criticism. Of course, that includes me as well. I do think that maybe I didn't come out hard enough against it, so maybe that led to a lot of confusion on how I felt about it. With Aiden Ross, I didn't make a whole video talking about the Pornhub thing he did. It was a very small piece of a bigger video. So I never made a video about that, but QT Cinderella situation I only ever mentioned on stream, and I think only like one time. So even though I didn't make a whole video on the Aiden Ross Pornhub thing, it was pretty clear how I felt about it, whereas QT Cinderella, if you weren't watching the stream, it's possible that you didn't understand where I stood. So I do think that is a valid criticism where I didn't make it clear enough where I was at with it, and I think that would have been a good point to make. However, it's not hypocritical, because at no point have I ever defended it, and I wouldn't defend it either. So I still disagree entirely with any of it being even remotely hypocritical, but I do, however, agree that I should have made it clearer where I stood on the whole situation.
He keeps pushing on this narrative that we missed the clip that proves he's not a hypocrite, but the clip is after my video, the day before this video. So he uses the word prove which in the viewer's minds means that he is proving something, but the clip is after my video. Guys, do you understand?
I was saying, I'll go ahead and prove that it's there right now, real quick, before getting into why, of course, advertising Fansly, OnlyFans, or anything in front of an audience that has younger children on it, it's always going to be not a great decision. It's one of the...
Imagine how many people fell for this. Look at Asmongold's reaction.
I don't understand. What? I'm being left more confused than the first time I watched Inception when I was but a young whippersnapper. What is the point you're making here? All I was saying is a lot of the comments were calling me out for never even saying that it was bad, which is just wrong, and why I said you must have missed the clip, so I just proved that it is in that clip that is already on your fucking channel. That is what I was saying, is that I did say that QT Cinderella and OnlyFans or Fansly promotion is not a good decision. That is me calling it bad. So I was just saying that you might have missed it, and I was just proving that it is there in the content you posted. I did say it. That's the only thing I was saying. This has nothing to do with a timeline. This was talking about the people that were saying I never even said it was bad, when I did.
From the false lens. He then lies about Fansly having a lot of obstacles.
So I viewed the advertisement very differently than a lot of people, because even when you scan the QR code, you still don't immediately get porn. There's already a lot of degrees of separation and a lot of obstacles to go through.
What happens? This is crazy that this website is being promoted in front of hundreds of thousands of children, because as soon as I go to the homepage, I am instantly greeted with an open vagina despite the account being underage.
This is the most disgustingly manipulative part of her entire video here, because if she goes forward in this clip, I then go on to say that I didn't have the knowledge that Fansly wasn't secure, and that it didn't actually have any safeguards in place to prevent under 18-year-olds from accessing the content on its site. I was under the assumption that there was ID verification and a lot of obstacles in order to go through in order to set up your account. In that video that she is playing, I said that these things turned out to be false, and I was wrong, that it is actually easy for anyone to have an account there that is underage and access the content. But I didn't know that prior. Now, the whole point I was making with this statement, this section here, is that there is still a degree of separation between Aiden Ross just bringing up full-blown porn, we're talking fully penetrative fucking goat seed porn on stream, versus the Fansly advertisement, which had no nudity at all. The point I was making is they were different in that they weren't just the exact same thing done by two different people. Granted, they are both sexual content for sure. The Fansly advertisement was not full-blown porn right in the viewer's face right off rip. Thus, I was arguing it is different. Now, it's very clear to me MuteKitty has never even bothered to do the bare minimum of scanning that QR code during the Fansly advertisement. She's using a different video to try and make her point for her without doing even just a little bit of work. If you scan that QR code, I'll show you exactly what happens. This is the first thing that pops up. This is like the peanut butter and jelly of safeguards, the most inefficient shit ever. Are you 18? Yes or no, basically. But this is already something that contradicts a lot of what people were saying, where there was no 18 plus at all. If you scan the QR code, you immediately get fucking porn. That is not true. That's not a point MuteKitty was making, but I do want to address that. It's not like you just scanned that and immediately got porn. You did have this same safeguard that apparently Kick has, that a lot of people said is why the Aiden Ross situation is actually not as bad as this, because at least there was an 18 plus warning. Well, there is an 18 plus warning here too, so they're very similar in that regard. Now, once you enter, you're still not getting porn. You then go to this like Twitter thing. It's like some kind of Fansly Twitter thing, where if you scroll down, you still don't get porn. You get their little red carpet interview moments. Then, if you go to the very first link there, then you go to the actual Fansly site, and once again, you still don't get nudity. Now, the pictures are more sexual, but still, the nudity is blurred out. In order to actually access the porn, you have to claim the subscription and then make an account or sign in with Twitch. There is a lot more you have to go to get the porn out of the Fansly advertisement versus the Aiden Ross just pulling up the porn as a jump scare in front of the entire fucking audience out of nowhere. That's the point I was making. These are two very different situations, but did have commonality that makes them both bad. But I still believe the Aiden Ross one is worse. You don't immediately get the porn from the Fansly advertisement, and it's not exactly 2 clicks away, but it is still extremely easy to access and has no real age verification in place place to ensure that your account is 18 plus. If you sign in with Twitch, it just kind of fucking takes them at their word, like, Scout's Honor, you're 18 plus, I believe you, and then gives you the porn, which is a problem. That is an issue, and that was not knowledge I had prior to the whole situation here. I was under the impression that no kids could really access it due to like actual safeguards that would ensure only 18 plus were using it, like an ID check or something. But that is not the case, which is why I've admitted I was wrong about it. But they are still two very different situations where you don't immediately get porn out of the Fansly advertisement versus literally getting shown porn with the Aiden Ross moment. But that does not excuse the QT Fansly promotion. It is still bad. We are on the same side. I don't know why she can't see this.
He lies about now saying a statement immediately, which indicates to the viewer that he did say one, when he never did. God, when he just said that anyone can access and you only need your Twitch account.
Is completely different than an advertisement to a platform which does have porn, but a lot of things that they'd have to do in order to access it.
He then ends the video with saying neither is great.
Classic Mew Kitty. She leaves out the part in that video where I admit I was wrong about not knowing how easy it was to access. Because it helps her point if she leaves that shit out. I said it in the video, I've just addressed it again here. There are more things you have to go through in order to access porn from the Fansly advertisement as opposed to Aiden Ross just putting the porn right in your fucking face and shaking it around, but neither are good. I also was under the assumption that Fansly was only accessible to 18 plus after you verified your age. I don't use the platform. I thought you had to verify you were 18 plus in order to even get to the pornographic content. Thus, I thought it was even harder for children to have got porn out of that advertisement if they weren't of age. Not only would they have had to leave the platform to get it, they would then have to verify their age and make an account for it. I thought there was a lot of steps to it, making it very difficult for them. But according to some research now, it actually seems like Fansly is extremely easily accessible for anyone of any age. There's not a whole lot of security to it based on the things I've read, which is knowledge I didn't have last night. Super weird that she just happened to have left out that part where I openly admit that I was wrong about the ease of access to the porn, where I admit that I completely was on the wrong assumption as to how difficult it was to access all of it. I'm sure she didn't mean to exclude it on purpose. It probably wasn't malicious. She might have just overlooked it.
But he only called out one, which is the point. But he still doesn't think he's a hypocrite. This is the best example of a hypocrite in denial. Both are bad, or in other words, neither is great, if the only one he called out was a stranger and the one he didn't was his business partner. Guys, how is this hard to understand?
I'm getting more and more tempted just to comb through the goddamn streams for 14 fucking hours to find the part where I do say that the QT Fansly promotion was weird after replying to chat, but I'm not going to be petty about it. We're going again to continue to push forward without that. Even still, me laughing at it I do think is pretty obvious, but we're going to throw that to the side as well. Even still, we'll throw both of those aside. I am saying it's bad. I have now talked more about how bad QT's family promotion is than the Aiden Ross porn situation, Mew Kitty. Like, I don't know how much clearer to make it. There isn't some deeper plot thread here. I thought I made it clear. I was wrong. I didn't make it clear enough where I stood on it. That's fine. That's a legitimate criticism you can have of me. But it is not hypocritical because I have never defended it. I have never applauded it, and I've never tried to bury it or anything or hide my feelings on it. I thought it was clear and I was wrong. But I am saying, and I've said a million times now, it's not good. It's not. Like, you are making an issue out of nothing. We are on the same team, and you are dragging this on, and it is getting absolutely fucking shameless now.
He says I don't like his content. Big lie. I've never said this.
Something that I'm
genuinely upset with him when I've never expressed anything against him.
Statements, and I also did say I'm not the biggest fan of the way she edits her content.
Well,
boy howdy, this is a bunch of hullabaloo nonsense points now. I'll go ahead and openly admit maybe I'm wrong on that first point there where I said she doesn't like my content. Maybe you're a huge fan of the content. I guess I could be wrong. I was making an educated guess based on the way that you talk about me on Twitter and in the comments section. But I guess I could be wrong. Maybe you absolutely love my shit. Maybe you're a huge fan of the Moist Wrestling League. I don't know. I guess you're right. I didn't know for sure. I was just reading between the lines of everything you've been saying about me and posting about me. The next point is about her being upset. I assumed she was passionate about the topic, but maybe that was the wrong thing to assume. Maybe she's only ever treated this like fake outrage. I gave her the benefit of the doubt that she actually cared about the subject, so I assumed she would be upset if she genuinely thought I was defending it. So I guess I was wrong about that. Maybe she doesn't care about any of this, and this is all just a big game to troll for her. So yeah, I guess I could have been wrong there too, for sure. I'll admit that could have been the wrong assumption to make. And then line number 11 had me really scratching my head here, and then calling it an ego thing. It was part of an apology to you, because I said on stream that I really didn't like the way you edited the content. I called it Zoomer editing, and I said that sounded mean-spirited when I didn't mean it to. I just meant that it's not my personal cup of tea. I've never been one to really like huge amount of sound effects and a lot of crazy effects and sounds and music going on. And I said I didn't really like it, and it came across mean-spirited, so I apologized. I wanted to make sure that you didn't feel like I was insulting you personally, like I fucking hated you, just because I didn't like the editing. I don't know what the lie is here. I was being honest. I still don't like the editing. That's just me being honest. That's not a lie. I don't really know what this part here is. I just can't even understand there's a real debate. I know Mew Kitty's really upset.
He starts lying about me saying Aiden Ross did the exact same thing when I've never said that.
I'd like her to put her money where her mouth is. If she really thinks that the Aiden Ross Pornhub situation is exactly the same as the QT Cinderella one, then I want her in her next video. Again, I could be fully wrong here about her being upset. She had made 3 tweets about me within like 2 hours right before I went live. So to me, it sounded like she was passionately upset about this whole situation. And like I said, if she was actually caring about the subject, I feel she'd have every right to if she really believed that I was defending it and okay with it. So again, I could have been wrong. Now, I like how she cuts off what I was about to say there, because I still think this is something very important. Her video has me in it, side by side with my Aiden Ross statement where I said it was weird that he pulled up porn to his viewers that had kids watching, versus me laughing at QT pulling up the porn advertisement to viewers that had kids watching. So, what everyone inferred, including myself, is that she was saying these situations are the same, and Moist Critical is a hypocrite because he called the Aiden Ross thing weird, but didn't say it was weird when QT did it. That is the assumption I and everybody else who saw that video made. Pretty much everyone who watched your video interpreted that moment as you saying that Charlie said Aiden Ross Pornhub moment was weird, but didn't have that same energy or say the QT Fansly promotion was weird. Thus, he is a hypocrite. So my point was, if this is what you were saying, and it seemed to me and most people that it was what you were saying, that these are the same thing, and thus Charlie's a hypocrite, then I said, put your money where your mouth is, and in your next video, play the Aiden Ross uncensored, unedited Pornhub moment, and then play the QT Cinderella Fansly promotion unedited, uncensored, and we'll see how closely related they are. See if they really are the exact same situation. And I was saying, I don't think you'd do that. And for good reason, because the Aiden Ross Pornhub moment's gonna get you banned because it's fucking porn, whereas the QT Fansly promotion has nothing sexually super explicit, no nudity. I played that entire advertisement in my last video and it was totally fine. That one is a safe to watch thing that links to things that are not safe for minors to watch, which is bad. That is not good, but it is not exactly the same situation as Aiden Ross bringing up Pornhub, and that's what I thought and most people thought you were saying with your video with me at the end. So I challenged you to prove that you felt that way by playing both of these uncensored and unedited side by side to prove if you really felt they were exactly the same. You have now kind of backpedaled on that, or maybe we were all wrong and that's not exactly what you're saying. I guess that's totally possible as well. But I think we can all recognize that what Aiden Ross did is not the exact same thing QT Cinderella did with the Fansly promotion, but it does not excuse the Fansly promotion. I hate that I have to keep hammering that home now, but I'm going to keep saying it because it apparently needs to be made abundantly clear.
Then he lies about saying both are bad and called one much weirder, which indicates that he called Cuties weird when he never did.
I don't know how many times I have to say they're both bad, but one's definitely worse, which is why I called it much weirder.
And that is why everybody's calling him out.
But one is definitely worse, which is why I called it much weirder. And much quicker. Once again, this is referring to the situation after all of this had happened, where I had now said 1,000 fucking times that the QT Fansly promotion is weird too. But the Aiden Ross Pornhub one is much weirder. Right? That's what I'm saying. This is all post-game now. After all of this has blown over, this is that stream right after all of this, I said that it is weird, and that the Aiden Ross one is still much weirder. I don't know what's getting lost here.
And one of the most biggest lies is that he said that it was not good and he was uncomfortable when he saw the ad on Streamer Awards. This never happened.
As opposed to laughing, and then saying that, yeah, that was uncomfortable and not good.
Let me prove it for the lazy ones.
Sign in using your Twitch account and see which of your favorite streamers are all.
I have to imagine she's doing this on purpose. It is just going in circles. Laughing at it, I still think, is pretty clear. I am laughing at the absurdity of it, and that it is weird, silly, uncomfortable, and all of the things I have said about it since. That's what I'm saying with calling it uncomfortable. All the things I have said about it since. Like, I don't know where things are going so awry here.
He then keeps on lying that there is an 18 verification when he just admitted in his video that he posted that there isn't.
He's saying there's no 18 plus tag on the Fansly ad, whereas Kick you have to verify being 18. Yeah, but on the actual porn website you have to verify being 18. So if we're going to talk about verification, then you would still need to verify you're 18 to see the porn with Fansly. I thought you had to verify you were 18 plus in order to even get to the pornographic content, but according to some research now, it actually seems like Fansly is extremely easily accessible for anyone of any age. There's not a whole lot of security to it based on the things I've read, which is knowledge I didn't have last night. Still need to verify you're 18 to see the porn with Fansly. Hey, there we go. Mew Kitty finally came around to playing the rest of that clip where I admit that I got a lot of the information wrong about how easily accessible Fansly is, which contradicts a couple of the lies she pointed out earlier. I'm glad she finally shoehorned it in at the very end. Now, maybe I shouldn't use the word verify here, but I did just pull up on screen what happens when you scan the code. You have to confirm that you are 18 by hitting enter, which is the same thing Kick had. The whole context of that situation was people saying Kick had the 18 plus verification just to watch the stream. And I was saying, well, by that metric, Fansly had the same safeguard, where you still had to hit 18 to enter. I shouldn't have used the word verification. I should have used safeguard because it's not verification. That was an absolutely wrong word to use there, and I fully own up to that. That was not the correct word to use, but it was on the fly and we were heated, so I used the wrong word and fumbled it. It was a safeguard. Kick didn't have an 18 verification either. It was, are you 18 to start watching? Yes. Which is the exact same thing that Fansly had. Are you 18 to go to this next page? Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's the whole context there.
He then keeps on brainwashing the narrative that he didn't do it immediately when he never did anything. It's a lie, guys.
And then the one I didn't talk about immediately after happened.
And now he lies again and said that it was kind of weird when I just proved that he didn't.
Immediately after happened, I laughed and then said later, wow, that was kind of weird. I don't know how many times she's going to make the exact same statement and chalk it up to a new lie. This is getting ridiculous now. For the 50th fucking time, she keeps saying that I didn't make a statement. I have now made 2 full videos about this whole situation saying the same thing, that it's inexcusable, bad, not good, suboptimal, not great, awful, uncomfortable, yucky, stinky. That's what I'm talking about. I've said that a ton of times now. The initial laugh I thought was clear from the get-go at what I was laughing at, but I guess not. I forgot we're in the age of Twitter where you have to end everything with like a slash sarcasm or something to give like your tone indicator so everyone fully fucking understands what's going on in a situation. But regardless, I recognize I may not have made it clear enough, which is where confusion could have arisen. But I don't know why she's still pretending like I've somehow defended this. I have never defended it, ever. And I have now talked about this so much more than I've talked about the Aiden Ross situation, which I still believe was worse, no matter how you try and spin it. Like, this is getting absolutely absurd.
He then lies about me harping on him and bringing him up. I think this is to make his fans defend him, but I never harped on him.
That's her whole point. Why does she keep bringing me up and harping on me? Because I laughed at it. Oh my god, another completely useless empty calorie here. Harping, maybe the wrong word. You posted about me, I think 8-9 times now on Twitter, and you made like 6 or 7 YouTube comments. So yeah, it felt like you were really harping on it.
Now that I've shown how much he lies, I'm gonna touch on why he's a hypocrite. Same thing happened when they tried to scam their fans with overpriced computers. He only changed when they exposed him. Then suddenly criticism exists. Incident, the owner of Starforge, which he is a co-owner of, he never mentioned his name in the video. Is that a coincidence? Well, when Rich Campbell got kicked out of OTK, he didn't make a video on that either. So I see a pattern, and I called it out.
Ah, yes, of course. No Mew Kitty video is complete without piling a ton of dog shit lies right at the end. So there's a lot here, and I'll unpack them all real quick. So immediately she pulls the gloves off and starts spitting and shitting. She calls Starforge PCs a scam, or insinuates that it was scamming its customers, which is fucking wild because pretty much no one thinks that way. Linus Tech Tips fucking reviewed it and had an overwhelmingly positive review for the most part. He had legitimate criticism that we took to heart, appreciated, and used to better the company and the product. But no one really has anything negative to say about it because Starforge PCs is a legitimate passion project that aims to actually provide the best value, the best computers you can possibly find on the market. This is starting to sound like a fucking ad, but it is the truth. She's referring to our rocky launch, and we all admit the launch of Starforge wasn't swimming. It didn't go super smooth. And that's just the sad reality of it, and it's something that we deeply regret, but we used it to improve it and fix it, and now it is just the best that there is on the market. But she then tries to draw a parallel between Starforge and OTK, more specifically Mizkif. Mizkif last year fell into some hot water with a whole sexual assault cover-up scandal, and she pulls out a video saying that it's curious that I didn't mention Mizkif in it. Must be because he's one of the co-owners of Starforge PC. Well, that's fucking weird, because she pulled a video where I just wasn't talking about that situation in general. The video where I did talk about it was a totally unrelated one. So I'll go ahead and play the clip where I do mention it and say that I'm giving proper respect to the victim due to the severity of the case, because normally with internet drama, I'm just covering the wacky and goofy shit, and sexual assault is nothing wacky and goofy. That's fucking horrifying. Here's the clip. So let's just go ahead and start with Twitch, since I already made that video breaking it all down, and a lot's changed and a lot's evolved since then. So I briefly mentioned a very serious that happened on Twitch involving sexual assault, a potential cover-up, all kinds of moving parts of that story. That's not something I treat as goofy drama. So again, I'm not going to go into super big detail on that whole situation, but I will say that that story has had a lot of twists and turns to it, where now all of a sudden the focus isn't even on the victim of the sexual assault or like the perpetrator accused of committing it. It's now shifted entirely to big streamers just pointing their fingers at each other and calling each other names and throwing as many debate term buzzwords at each other as they could possibly muster, and it is just kind of a mess. I again don't really treat this super lightly, so I'm not going to talk too much in detail about it. I recommend listening to Adriana Lee, the victim of the case, and get it from her. It's so weird. There's very clear evidence that I have mentioned it, and if you want even more, I do have a video on my second channel where I go into it more in depth after the OTK investigation came out, where I said I wasn't super satisfied and would have liked to see the actual evidence due to the severity of the case. I would have liked everything to be transparent so I could really see what happened here because of how outspoken I had been about this whole situation with Ms. Kiff and everyone involved. But she couldn't be bothered to do any amount of research, even the fucking bare minimum where if you just type in my name plus Ms. Kiff, that video pops up right away. And I've talked about it on stream at length too, for hours. Like, it is something I very deeply did and do care about. She then makes another fucking lie, saying that I never talked about Rich Campbell or made a video about him. Well, once again, that was another horrifying situation that is not wacky, goofy internet drama that I usually will cover. So that was one I didn't make a video on, she's correct, but I did have a whole stream dedicated to talking about the fucking situation, which she could easily find if she just typed in my name plus Rich Campbell. Here's just a small excerpt from it. She's blatantly fucking lying in a video where she's calling out my supposed lies. And just when you thought it couldn't get more embarrassing, she's got one more final point to make.
Responded to this, to the promotion of porn to an audience full of minors. His response was, yeah, it's not a great decision. It's just one of those things.
Of course, advertising Fansly, OnlyFans or anything in front of an audience that has younger children on it, it's always going to be not a great decision. It's one of those things, yeah.
One of those things? Like it's a daily thing we all do?
Yeah, it's one of those things. One of those bad things. I don't know how you even interpret that statement as just another one of those days in the calendar. It's one of those bad things, those bad decisions. It's all so plain and clear. I know she's doing this on purpose to get a rise out of me, and it has absolutely worked. It gets under my skin because there are actually people that think she's being serious, and it makes me fucking upset. And it is entirely her fault for that because she continues to play into this character that just says the most incendiary, off-the-wall nonsense shit and makes the worst points defending whatever she's trying to talk about. Now, I at first was very charitable, thinking that she was coming from a place of genuine care. That is obviously not the reality of the situation. So this is my full response to everything she said here, and hopefully this will be the end of it because, again, if she really does care about it, then we're on the same team because I think it was a problem too. I don't think it was a good thing that Fansly got promoted at the Streamer Award. I've said it a lot. I've said it now again for the millionth fucking time. So this is, once again, me just defending myself from hypocrisy allegations, but there are real things you could criticize me for, like not making it clear enough in the beginning. That is something I do regret. I should have been a lot clearer with how I felt about it, and I feel like I missed the mark there. But hopefully all this is cleared up exactly where I stand on all of it. I'm tired of her pretending that because Ludwig's my friend, I've defended QT. I haven't. I've done the opposite. I have said I don't support it. So I don't know why she keeps running with that narrative and trying to push that agenda that is just not the truth, which is very ironic considering her whole video is about how I wasn't being truthful. So it's wild. This whole situation is just stupid. Really fucking stupid. That's about it. See ya. What's up, everybody? It's Critical. I just wanted to quickly toss my nutsack into this wiener pile with this war between YouTube and the Wall Street Journal. I wanted to explain to everyone why everyone's rightfully mad at Wall Street Journal, but also the real person behind the advertisers leaving YouTube isn't Wall Street Journal. It's this man right here. Here's the puppet master, Eric Feinberg, or Feinberg. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but it doesn't matter because either way, I can do a play on words with it. Brace yourself. Here's Eric Everything's Not Feinberg on YouTube, or Eric Baron Fein Bears. Well, shit, that one didn't come out as well as I thought it would in my head. But regardless, he's the man pulling the strings, really. But first, before I talk about him, I want to talk about why everyone hates the Wall Street Journal right now. So, I'm sure most of you remember when they attacked PewDiePie, calling him a Nazi, just taking everything out of context and spinning obvious satire into sincere racism. And that blew up in their face. Most people saw that as horrible journalism and just a hit piece, which it truly was. But what this did is it showed the power Wall Street Journal possesses in the industry, because when they made that piece, PewDiePie lost Disney sponsorships, lost his show, he lost a lot of shit. So what this showed to Wall Street Journal is they have a lot of pull in this industry, and since YouTube is taking a lot of the old media audience, they wanted to fight back and try and retain that group, so they're going to paint this platform as a horrible racist platform and just where scum exists, which scares advertisers off of it. It's nothing new. It's the same tactic from when radio was losing its audience to television. You know, you demonize your competition so that way the audience stays with you. That's exactly what the Wall Street Journal has been doing by going to the advertisers and saying how bad this platform is and how all of their ads are on racist videos. Nothing but racism exists on YouTube. So, understandably, advertisers don't want to be associated with that, so they pull off of YouTube. Now, obviously, anyone that goes on YouTube knows that's not the case. However, it does point out a legitimate problem with YouTube. There is no screening for what advertisements get placed on what videos. There is some extremist and racist videos on YouTube that do have advertisements before them, and that's the fault of YouTube for not having a better system in place to prevent that from happening. Now, this is where Eric Fuckboy comes into play. What Eric has done is he's found a way to locate every single racist, extremist, homophobic, just awful video in existence on YouTube with ads in it. He found a way to track them, and what he's done is he's been able to present that to these advertisers and also hold Google hostage because he's patented his technique for finding these videos with the ads on them. Now, this would actually be a really righteous and very good cause if he wasn't such a dickbag. He's fucking literally holding his patented technology ransom. Google will have to pay him millions of dollars in order to find these videos with these racist, extremist content and ads playing on it. What this would do is if they could actually cut off the advertisements on those videos, that would remove a source of income for these horrible organizations. But this man doesn't really care. He's trying to flaunt around like he's some type of vigilante with this incredible technology, but what he's doing is he's just asking for money, otherwise he's going to keep it to himself. And with his patent, the way he has it set up, he says there's pretty much no way YouTube could find a workaround for doing the same thing his shit does. So he's just going to keep holding on to these videos and letting these terrorist organizations profit off of YouTube. Now, this certainly doesn't sound like a hero to me. I must have missed the issues of Batman where he charges Gotham for his work. He's also an extremely narcissistic asshole. His Facebook has thousands of friends, but no one comments on any of his posts except for him to pat himself on the back. His Twitter feed was dead until a couple of days ago where he starts saying, oh, it's weird how advertisers are pulling off of YouTube. This is the man that's responsible for this huge exodus of advertisers, and he's a true fucking douchebag. So while the outrage at the Wall Street Journal is definitely justifiable, we're missing the biggest villain in this situation here. He paints himself as some old school heroic action man, extreme turbo avenger of the YouTube internet age, but really he's just a money-hungry human catheter who managed to solve a problem YouTube's been having for a while and is now charging a huge amount for the solution. And while he's holding on to this solution, he's also trying to pressure YouTube into just giving in and buying his shit by releasing these screenshots and sharing this information with the videos and the advertisements to the advertising agency so they pull out and back YouTube into a corner, so that way they're forced to play ball with this rectal thermometer. But yeah, I just wanted to make this to help people understand why the Wall Street Journal is coming under fire, and hopefully the Wall Street Journal will crumble and just burn to the fucking ground. But I also wanted to show who the real bad guy in this situation is. Now I want to make this clear, I don't think he's a bad guy for solving this problem or charging for the solution. I feel he should have the right to charge for his hard work here. I think he's a scrotal hair for two main reasons. One, he didn't just patent his way of solving the problem, he patented every single possible approach YouTube could take to attacking this problem themselves, leaving him as the only one with the solution and the only one that could possibly have a solution according to him. The second reason being, he keeps sending screenshots of these videos with the ads to the company so that way they'll pull off of YouTube and make YouTube more likely to buy his product, which is hurting everyone on the website right now. So yeah, Eric, if you're watching this, go fuck yourself, and Wall Street Journal, if you're watching this, also go fuck yourself. And that's it. So yeah, I want to give all of you a follow-up to a situation I covered a little while back in regards to a popular YouTuber and a potential charity fraud situation. This is about the completionist and his charity, Open Hand Foundation. I'll give you a super brief rundown on the lore here to bring you all up to speed in case you don't know what I'm referring to, but the completionist is a huge YouTuber. He owns a charity called Open Hand Foundation. It was formed after the death of his mother, who passed away from dementia. A tragic situation, and this charity was started with the goal of helping to combat dementia. And for the last decade or so, he has run fundraising events with his community in order to collect donations that he has stated will be used in the fight against dementia. However, after an investigation was conducted by Some Ordinary Gamers and Carl Jobst, they found out through all the public filings, since this is a charity organization, their filings are public, they found out that all of the money they've collected over the last 10 years has not moved from the Open Hand Foundation. It's all sitting in an account. Even though the completionist has always led his community to believe otherwise, that they are actively donating to a bunch of different places, and even name drops a lot of places, despite never actually sending a penny from the Open Hand Foundation. Now, after all the dust had settled from the initial videos, there were a lot of people like nematodes from SpongeBob coming forward saying the same thing. You're not legal experts, you're not accountants, this doesn't matter. And referring to like Mudahar and Carl Jobst when they reported on this, because no one wanted to accept that it's possible that the completionist engaged in bad behavior. I wanted so badly to believe that all of this could be chalked up to some kind of accounting error or something easily explainable because, as I mentioned, I've had a lot of respect for the completionist in the past. But now, with where the situation currently is, it's extremely hard to see any type of fantasy land where the completionist and the Open Hand Foundation is somehow totally innocent from the claims that have been made against them. So that was the situation boiled down to the most bare bones of it. It got a little bit deeper since then, and I'd like to cover it here just to give you the full update. So, since that initial set of videos from Carl and Mudahar, the Open Hand Foundation has donated $600,000, which is great. However, most people, myself included, believe that that would have not happened had those videos not been made about them. It was the result of public pressure. It doesn't seem like this just was a big coincidence that they happen to donate it now after all of this outrage. So it's a net positive, though, that they finally have donated the money, but there was a lot more that was uncovered throughout the investigations, and the completionist came forward to deliver an official response on all of this. And I have to say, his response is a bunch of horseradish. I watched it when it first dropped, and there were so many contradictions that he said in that response that it made it extremely difficult to believe anything else that he says going forward. For some reason, what he said was enough to convince his audience of no wrongdoing, and it fries my fucking brain trying to comprehend how anyone could have walked away with that perspective. He admits fault for potentially misleading people on the purpose of the Open Hand Foundation and where the money goes, even though he blatantly misleads them. He explicitly said that it was going places it wasn't. That's not just like, hey, I'm sorry you felt this way, or I'm sorry you got all of these dumb ideas in your head, you bunch of fucking dummies. You picked up these breadcrumbs I didn't mean to drop. Sorry you did that. You blatantly misled them. The Open Hand Foundation is a middleman. They take in money from his community and they donate it to other causes that help in the fight against dementia. So his only goal with this was to take that money and donate it, which he wasn't doing for a decade until, of course, all of this outrage. But in his response, he keeps making it seem like that was always part of the plan. He said that basically they were waiting for a restricted donation where it was a lot of money where it'd make a meaningful impact. And I think that, again, is a bunch of dirty barnacles. You never fucking said that. In fact, in the interview he did with Mudahar and Carl in the first video they made, it directly contradicts what he's saying in his response, where he was saying like, oh, we just didn't know that the money hadn't been donated, and we were waiting for the right benefactor. That whole restricted donation amount narrative, that whole side quest hoopla, that mumbo-jumbo never came up until his response. So it seemed like they were really just trying to fish for some kind of excuse. It just doesn't seem genuine at all, and it doesn't make any sense. Because if that was always the goal and what you were waiting to do, you probably would have disclosed that to your audience, right? Like, I would think any sensible person would. Now, Carl Jobs just dropped his video covering all of these claims, and I can't recommend it enough. I'm just giving you my perspective from what I saw from his response, but Carl dives into the weeds of it. He gives you all of the receipts, all of the evidence, all of the proof, and I think there is no way you walk away from Carl's video believing that the completionist is totally innocent in all of this and it's just one big misunderstanding or a giant whoops-a-daisy moment. It really does seem like there were some shady things going on in regards to the fundraiser as well as to how the funds were handled. And I see a lot of people saying this is just Carl's side of the story, and it's just not. We have the completionist side of the story. We have that interview that he initially conducted, which for some reason people keep forgetting about and just writing off as just a nothing burger. He was panicked and under pressure, so his statements can't hold any water, which I totally disagree with. Those statements are still important. But we do also have the official response now. So this isn't a case where we only have one side of the story. No, we have all sides of the story. It's just Gerard's side, the completionists, has more holes in it than an orgy on Brazzers. Like, there are so many problems with his statement that don't add up. And the receipts and proof that he brought forward in his response is kind of just unrelated to a lot of the claims that have been made against him. Like, I don't know how that was enough to convince anyone that he's like some kind of angel, like a saint, not guilty or anything. Like, he didn't disprove anything really, except for one claim, which is that the papers, some of the documents, weren't signed, which is something Carl admits fault to in his follow-up as well, that he was wrong to state that the documents weren't signed. Gerard did prove that they were signed. But that's a very, very small component of the claims against him. I want to show you a clip from Carl's video, which contains a clip from the completionist video that was the biggest alarm for me, that sounded all the sirens in my little noodle up here. It's something Gerard says that directly indicates that he has lied. I'm actually shocked he even has this in his response video because he is openly admitting to being untrustworthy with some of the things he has claimed throughout the fundraisers as well as potentially now.
And Gerard admitted this in his response.
Income from Twitch subscriptions and bits, along with merchandise, have offset some of the production costs. So to say the money is missing is simply wrong.
This was shocking to me. Does Gerard not understand that he is admitting to embezzlement here? To be clear, a charity using donations to cover expenses isn't illegal. It's totally normal and common. But that's not what Gerard did. Gerard lied to the public and said that this money was going to charity and that he wasn't touching any of it.
Bits, subs, YouTube memberships, or YouTube super chats, anything that supports us is going to the foundation at the very end.
As a reminder, all bits and subs, including Amazon Primes, go towards the charity as well. So it's all a pass through, all going for a good cause.
Gift subs, memberships on YouTube, super chats, all that goes to the charity as well. And hey, if you want to get a t-shirt, all of the proceeds from the shirt also go to charity.
Your primes, your gift subs, your bits, donations all go to charity. We don't take any of it.
For years, the completionist has said all of the bits, the memberships, the subs on Twitch, merch sales, bit donations, if you fucking put $1 on a rock and throw it out of your window and hope that it reaches us, all of the money raised throughout all of these streams is going directly to the charity. We're not touching any of it. He even explicitly says those words. And yet, in his response, he admits that that money through those means was being used to offset production costs. That's totally different than what you were telling them the money was going to be used for. As Carl mentions, there's nothing inherently wrong with using some money to offset costs for like a big event. That's pretty commonplace, but usually that money comes from like a sponsor backing, but even if not, it's usually disclosed that a portion of the money donated will be used in that regard. So that way the audience knows. You keep them updated on exactly what the money is going to be used for and how. That's the most important part of being a charity, knowing where the money goes as a donator. And for Open Hand Foundation, for 10 years, the money wasn't going anywhere except into a bank account to collect fucking dust and grime and cobwebs. Like, I bet by the time that this money was donated from Open Hand, the bank was like fucking stunned, like, wait, are you sure? We were under the impression that whoever had that must have like traveled the world and never came back or something. It had been sitting for so fucking long idly. And as a lot of people mentioned, the money isn't worth as much now as it was when it was initially donated because of inflation and everything. It would have been better to just keep donating it every year. Yes, it is still a good thing that the money was donated. Absolutely, that is a win for sure. So there is at least a positive outcome here. But it's still not even where this rabbit hole ends. Carl and Muda also discovered that they do these golf events that raise a lot of money as well. And a lot of money isn't accounted for in like what the bank has in total. There are just so many things that still don't have a real answer from the completionist. It's just such a fucking sad situation. Charitable fraud is so foul. Just exploiting people's kindness, taking people's willingness to help others and wiping your ass with it. It is evil. And whether or not the charity fraud here is on purpose or on accident, and I lean more towards it being on purpose with all of the evidence provided here and everything that keeps coming out. And even if it was charitable fraud on accident, that's not exactly just like a mistake people make. It's not like one of those things that's easily something to move on from. Like, ooh, Jiminy Christmas, hey, sorry guys, looks like I committed charity fraud. Ooh, sorry about that. Yikes. I didn't mean to. Like, it's not something that people be like, oh, okay, hey, no worries, happens to everyone. Like, it is still a fucking big deal, even if this is all somehow the result of just being extremely bad at managing a charity. It's still an awful situation and extremely fucking sad all around. I'm happy the money got donated, some of the money got donated, but there's still so many more things that need to be accounted for here. I highly encourage all of you to watch Carl's video. He dives into all of it, and I think it's an extremely important video to watch, because there are so many more things to this story. So, huge hats off to Carl and Mudahar for their work on this situation. Without them, I don't think that money would have ever actually made it to a real cause. So, great work from them, and I am glad to see they didn't back down in response to the completionist, like, fucking flexing on him, like, okay, then I'll take it to legal court then. Because at the end of the completionist response video, he puffs out his chest and makes some vague threats to legal action against them for it, and I'm glad that they didn't cower away from it, and they just went harder into what they have found through their investigation. I think that is a great thing, and I think it is an overall, like, positive that they're trying to deliver on. So, I'm going to keep my eyes on the situation, of course. I just wanted to bring you all up to speed on where this is at. Again, please check out Carl's video if you want to know all of the specifics. This has all been very surface level for me just to bring you up to speed on most of it. But anyway, that's about it. See ya.